What's going on, Low Gang? Welcome back to another absolute slammer of a vid. Today we got a big job ahead of us. I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be tough. We are gonna be attempting to rebuild the VANOS on Dory, the E36, because I'm like 99% sure it's gone bad. I have terrible gas mileage. Recently, I kind of came to the realization that I have like an obscenely low amount of torque between 2 and 3,000 RPM. And also, I'm starting to get some rattle from the front end of the engine. All three of those things together probably means VANOS. Now, when I called around to try to get a quote on this, I was quoted $1,500 to rebuild it. $1,500. And today, we're gonna attempt to do it for a mere 73. Now, we'll only be able to do it for 73 bucks because of the beauty of the internet. I got all my parts to rebuild the VANOS from Beisan Systems. I really should know how to pronounce their name. They're very well known for high quality VANOS rebuild stuff. And I got three things from them. Number one is the O-ring and outer seal ring. This tends to go bad over time on M50s and M52s because BMW used like a really dumb rubber for the O-ring. And so it gets hard and cracks and shrinks over time. Not good. So Beisan Systems, they created a replacement O-ring and seal in a much higher quality material that's less susceptible to the damaging effects of heat cycling 1.5 million times. I also got their rattle kit. This is just a replacement ring that goes inside the bearing assembly. Once we have everything apart, I'll show you where this goes, but it's just ever so slightly different than the one that comes stock on the car, so it's less susceptible to creating that annoying rattling sound that we're hearing. And then finally, I got this custom socket from them. It's basically a normal 18 mil socket, but it has this flat end here. One of the critical hex caps that holds the whole bearing assembly together, that has a very, very shallow hex on the end of it. And so if you use a normal socket like this rounded edge will strip out that hex. I think it was like $5 extra. It's sweet that they provide that for such a cheap price. And I should say, as always, this is not sponsored. Nobody sent me anything. I bought all of this myself. Okay, those are the actual necessities for doing this job. The rest of this stuff is kind of while you're in there stuff. We got some blue Loctite to make sure everything stays tight. We have some Durco HT Gray. This is just some gasket sealer so that we don't have any leaks, hopefully, once we replace the valve cover gasket. Speaking of valve cover gasket, that's what we got here. We also have the spark plug seat things, basically all of the rubber that's in there that's probably old and cracked. We're gonna replace that so we don't get any of those really common E36 leaks. Additionally, we have this VANOS gasket that goes under the VANOS unit, and also we have some new crush washers. I'm hoping these are the right size. You need these crush washers to seal that oil line, because that's a high pressure oil line which feeds into this VANOS solenoid, and that feeds into the VANOS system itself. So I'd rather not reuse crush washers. Those are all of the actual parts. Here we have our tools laid out. Here we got the fan holder and low profile wrench to actually remove the fan, because in here it's a pretty tight fit. You got to remove the fan and the shroud and everything like that. We have our basic metric socket set with all of our ratchets here. I have my new Torx bits and sockets. We're only going to need a couple of these, but I just brought all of them out just in case. I also got this extended 10 mil. We may or may not need this, but I'm probably going to lose a 10 mil at some point during this installation, so might as well have an extra. And finally, we got our brand new torque wrench. This little guy is so cute. Look at how tiny he is. This goes from basically 2 foot-pounds up to about 22 foot-pounds. We're going to need a much lower torque rating on some of these VANOS bolts, and it's such a delicate system that I'd rather torque them correctly and not risk stripping anything or, I don't know, messing it up somehow. Of course, the most reliable way to do that is to order a $30 torque wrench, because as we all know, Amazon has the best, most accurate torque wrenches. Final thing is these VANOS specialty tools. You can rent these or you can buy them on eBay for like 60 bucks or something like that. I lucked out because my buddy Sage lent me these. Thank you, Sage. And that basically includes the cam locks so that we can lock the camshafts in place. We have this pin which goes kind of in the back and locks the crank. And then we have this special tool, and that basically goes on your exhaust cam gear. You push it over, it lets you pull out the VANOS unit. I'll show you all of this stuff. This is my first time doing this, but I've watched a lot of videos. I don't know if this is gonna go well. I don't know if it's gonna go terribly. All I know is I don't wanna spend 1,500 bucks. Let's do it. Okay, the valve cover is off. I'm probably gonna jinx it, but it seems like things are going well so far. I am getting a very distinct gasoline odor from this oil. So I don't know what's going on there. I might have a leaky injector or something like that. But now I can like physically see what we need to do. We got to rotate these cams so that we can put the cam locks on. We got to remove this guy. Luckily, the valve cover gasket came off all in one piece really cleanly. We have that new one to go on, but it seems like this was probably replaced at some point in the car's life, which is great. That explains the no oil leaks. Now I'm getting a little nervous because it's kind of the high stakes parts coming up. Like if I don't do these next few steps absolutely correctly, I could ruin everything. So I'm gonna take it slow. I'm gonna be as methodical as I possibly know how to be. It's nerve-wracking, but you know, we gotta do it to save 1,500 bucks. Next step, I believe, is locking the cams, and then we're gonna get this baby off. Let's do it. Yeah. Ladies and gents, the VANOS unit is off. It is now 9:28 p.m. I started about 3 p.m., so we're about 6.5 hours in. Now, this probably wouldn't take 6.5 hours if you weren't filming, but also I ran into a stupid issue that I want to warn you about in case you do this yourself. So when I was trying to wiggle off the VANOS unit, which by the way, I was trying for literally an hour and a half. That's not normal. Normally it just comes right off. This gosh darn hose clamp was holding the entire unit on and messing everything up. Now this is kind of good, I guess, because it definitely means that the coolant hoses were replaced at some point, but whoever replaced them put this clamp in the way of the VANOS unit. And so I was struggling for like an hour and a half thinking there was another bolt on here. I was counting bolts down there. So don't do what I did, which was like yank on the exhaust cam gear for like an hour and a half. That probably means something is wrong and something is interfering. The last thing I thought it would be is a f***ing hose clamp, but I'm very excited we got it out. So let's get cracking. What up, gang? It's the next morning. Last night was kind of hectic. I was getting pretty frustrated, but I spent a couple hours this morning off camera fiddling with the VANOS unit here, and I think I got the problem fixed. So previously, when I torqued everything down, that Torx bolt in there, and then this cap here, the needle bearings inside were being squeezed way too tight, and I could feel that when I rotated this, it was binding just a little bit. It was able to rotate, but I could tell the amount of friction that it had was probably greater than the amount of friction that the actual piston would have, and I was worried that as this cam gear spun, the piston would rotate in the bore and score it up and cause all sorts of issues. So what I had to do was take this all apart a ton of different times, and I took out the very middle washer deep inside there. It's the kind of thicky one. And then I put various grades of sandpaper from 180 up to like 400. I put them on a flat surface, took that big washer, slid it back and forth, rotated it, slid it back and forth. I tried to be as precise as I could be. And ever so slightly over maybe 5 different tries, this started to loosen up every time I would torque it back down. Now, finally, I think we're at the optimal tension. There is a little bit of preload, but it does spin freely. You can see that when I rotate it like that. I can do it with 2 fingers. It's no real issue, and it doesn't stick on kind of takeoff. Also, it's worth noting that there's no oil in here, so that's probably part of the reason, if any, that even at this looser state, it feels a little sticky. But I think we have it just about perfect, hopefully. I mean, I don't know. We're gonna put it back in there and see. There is absolutely no radial play, no axial play. I'm afraid there maybe should be some radial play, some sort of back and forth, but I am happy to report that there is no sort of twisting play here, which is great. I was told by the internet that I should squirt some WD-40 right into that middle hole there. After we do that, I think I just gotta put the whole thing back together. Kind of intimidating. Halfway report, I gotta tell you, I really do feel like I've messed things up and not realized it. And there's so many different steps to this process that I'm kind of petrified that I'm gonna f up my car. But I'm trying to be methodical about it today. I have the entire day to work on it. There's no time pressure. So I'm gonna do my absolute best to do it right so that Dory can get back on the road. What up, nerds? It's been about a week since I filmed that last clip. I stopped filming that day because I was basically just putting the cooling system back together at that point. But I did film the first startup because that was the most nerve-wracking part. Check it out. Okay, so it's been about a week since that first startup, and I've driven the car about 75 miles, I would say. So we're almost to about half of the break-in period. And the big question is, well, the 2 questions are, 1, did it make a difference? And 2, was it worth going through all that trouble to save the 1,500 buccarinos? Answer to question 1, did it make a difference? Yes. I am currently stuck in traffic, but ironically, that's almost like a good time to talk about the differences that this made to the drivability of the car. I would say, and I don't want to overestimate, I would say that between 2,000 and 3,000 RPMs, so like core driving around the city RPMs, I have maybe somewhere between 15 and 25% more torque just in that rev range. It feels like it drives how it's supposed to drive from the factory. And it was torque that I didn't really even notice that I was missing for a long, long time. Now I can floor the throttle from like 1,000 RPM lower and have torque basically all the way through redline, whereas in the past, I would have to wait for it to get up to like 3,500 RPM and then I could start driving quickly. Now, obviously, I don't mean illegally quickly, all within the speed limit. Okay, question number 2, the big one, was this process worth saving the 1,500 bucks? For me, yes. And overall, I would say the process was just a really valuable learning experience for me, because it was one of those things where, in theory, you know everything that should go into the process of an installation, but until you get in there, until you get your paws dirty, there are all of these nuances and tiny little lessons that you learn along the way that just aren't really conveyed when you just watch YouTube videos or read articles about it. Like, you gotta get in there, you know? Oh my god. She has a lightsaber. Anyway, on top of all of that learning, there's also the money aspect. With filming, with taking my time, and with making a bunch of stupid mistakes, I think in total the project took me approximately 14 hours. I think if you were not filming, you could probably do this no problem in 9 hours, assuming you had the tools. And if you're really good, you could maybe do it in 5. But anyway, my point is, even though I took 14 hours, which is an obscenely long time to do something like this, for ease of calculation, let's round down on the estimate and say that I would have spent $1,400 to go get it done at some mechanic. That means I'm valuing my time at about $100 an hour. And when you factor in the amount of learning that I got out of this, I don't think $100 is too bad of a wage to pay myself to work on my own car. On a more basic level, now I have, what, 1,426, let's say $1,426, assuming that I spent about 74. I have all that extra money to spend on the car. Or I could, you know, be less dumb and invest it or something. Now, obviously, not every mechanic is gonna quote you $1,500 to do a VANOS job. But I would say if you're considering doing this job, call around, get 3 estimates from reputable places, choose the middle one, and then make a realistic estimate about how long you think it would take you to do this job, and figure out about how much money you'd be paying yourself by doing this job yourself. yourself. If it's not a super high amount of money per hour and you have better things to do with your time and you could make more money by just working your regular job during that time, then do that. That probably financially makes the most sense. Oh my God, what the hell? What is going on? Okay, I'm going for it. I'm going for it. Okay, thank you. Oh God. You know, the old 1st to 4th shift? That's the last time I shift with one hand. Okay, that's it for today's video. If you liked the video, make sure to like the video. If you really like the video, make sure to subscribe. I make a new video every single week. Thank you so much for spending your time watching this video, and I will see you next time. Peace! Oh God, that was risky. I almost just crashed. That's how much I care about doing the outro. All right, I'll see you next week. Bye.